this session also. It might be useful for some others. Okay, coming back to our discussion. So now this is what our agenda. So for next 55 minutes. So we are going to discuss before Jenkins, what is the situations and what are the problems we are facing it and how we are solving it, and what is a Jenkins and what is a CI, which is continuous integration, and what is just Jenkins pipelines, and what is just local and then central Jenkins, and how to install the Jenkins, and what are the minimum things which we know about the Jenkins from the settings perspective, the managing plugins, nodes, users, etc., and how the basic job can be created, and how to create the build parameters and do the execution. So this is what the basics means. First, when we start for the Jenkins, so this is the basic things which we will be giving it. And after this one, we can plan whenever we wanted to know about few further things. Obviously, we can get it in touch and then we will get to know. And guys, please feel free. Whenever you have a doubt, you can give a pause. So it means I'll give the means you can ask me so that I can give a pause and then I can discuss. We'll be clearing about it. Else, if you feel that after this session, you can call me and then we can discuss on those particular pointers too. Now, coming back to before the Jenkins, what it was happening is it would be better if I taken something in the PowerPoint presentation so that I can draw something and I can show it to you people. I'll just open some PowerPoint. Now in this one, I'll just try to do something like this. Okay, so I'll keep it here. Now I have a developer. So he's a D1, and I have the developer D2, and I have a developer D3. Okay, these people are there now. Okay, 3 people sitting from different locations and different geographical locations. Now they made something and they made the commit. So commit, where we will be trying to do, we will be putting into the code repository. So we have some version control systems like a Git or Bitbucket or whatever. We have multiple things like VSTS. So we have many things are there. So for the namesake, for an example, I'll be keeping it as, we'll be keeping into GitHub. Okay. Now these 3 developers are keeping randomly, because as it is a different geographical locations, so this guy will check in the code, and this guy will check in the code, and this guy will check in the code randomly. Now, unless this particular code is stable, this can't come for the testing, because if you bring that one also, always this will be failing. So now what this particular Git repository, the version control system need to do, so first it need to get this, and then it has to stable, and then this has to be stable, and then it has to merge all these 3 people's code, and then once it has been stable, then it has to build, and then it has to give for the testing engineer, so that the test engineer test on that, and then once it has been tested, then it can go for the deployment, which is into the production. If you go through this particular cycle, it was taking too much of time and it was getting delayed. So to improvise on this particular processes, which, and all these things are manually we are trying to do these particular things. Now, instead of this, I wanted to make everything as an automated process, an automation approach. Then what we try to do is, in 2011, a guy named KK, we usually call him KK because he is a Japanese guy. His name is very difficult to pronounce, so that's the reason we just remember his name as KK. If you see here, Koisuke Kawaguchi, his name, he is a guy who is the original author for Jenkins, and the latest version is 2.204, which it was released in December 2019, and it was under the MIT licenses. And the first more thing we need to understand, this is a free and open source automation server. So we need to understand by this one, what is the catch of this thing is, so this is a server. So whenever I wanted to work on this particular thing, so I need to start the server, make up and run, then only I can work on the Jenkins. Either this server can be set up in the local, or this can be set up in our centralized location. Okay, when I come talks about this one, I'll come. So what are the key catch pointers? It was came in 2011, and this KK is the author and the founder for this, and he has been, the latest version is 2.204, and then it was MIT license. See guys, whenever there is an open source tool, it will be under different licensing like GPL, and then MIT. MIT means I think it's Michigan Institute of Licensing or something. So that licensing means this was Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So whenever any open source tools are there, it would be licensed under this particular licensing. Every licensing have some terms and conditions. Means this can be used, but this can't be proprietary. This can be used, but this can't be modified. So we will be having different types of terms and conditions. Based upon that, we will be having this licensing part. Now this is part of MIT license, and this runs on the Apache Tomcat server, web server. Okay, now that's a very basic information, and let's get started with the other things. Now, what is Jenkins? First of all, I can put it in many definitions. We can see many usages, and this is an ocean. It has lots and lots of advantages, but the basic thing is Jenkins is a scheduling tool or a scheduler tool, one of the usage. And the most important usage is it's a continuous integration tool for continuous development, continuous testing, continuous deployments. Oh, I'm using a lot of terminologies here. So Jenkins is a continuous integration tool and continuous development for continuous testing and continuous deployment. So that is where these two terms which it comes into the picture, CI and CD. Continuous integration and continuous deployment. So these two together combine to call it as Jenkins pipeline. Don't worry, we will discuss about all this particular stuff. Now I'll talk about the continuous. First we'll start with the continuous integration. Nowadays this terminology was misused a lot. So actually what do you meant by this particular continuous integration is, for an example, I'll take the same thing. Now I have D1, D2, D3, 3 developers are there, and they wanted to continuously integrate because he sits in India, he sits in UK, and that guy, another guy sits in US. Now, these people wanted to integrate into the master repository. So wherever we store all our development code. Okay, till now I didn't come back to our testing perspective. Now, these guys will check in all their codes into this particular repository, GitHub repository, which is the master branch we wanted to check in. Now, when they wanted to do this particular thing, first of all, because if this guy has been made some mistake, it shouldn't even move to the further. Immediately, it has to respond back to him saying that, boss, you have been checked in the wrong code where it can't proceed further. Immediately fix this. Because of you, the build was broken. So that information automatically it has to convey back to the developer. Or if this guy have done the same thing, so it has to communicate for this. And this guy got made everything good. So for this particular guy, it has to go for the repository. The code means what are the steps usually we will be having it? The step number 1, development. Step number 2, committing that particular code. And once after the committing the code, it should be built. And once after the building, it should go for the testing. And once after the testing, it should be going for the DevOps, where it go for the deployment process, and once from the deployment process, it will reach to the production. So this is what our complete procedure, right? So, and here in the testing itself, we might be having the retesting, or if there is a failure, once again, that has to be fixed, and then it has to be once again retested, and then it has to move for the next. All those are parts of this one. But at a high level, what is a flow? Means the developer develops that particular code, he commits that particular code into the repository, and from that particular repository, it has to make the build. And once after the build, it comes to the testing. And once after the testing, it will go to the deployment. And from the deployment, it will go to the production. So these are the things. And internally, we have many procedures for building or for the testing. We do have multiple testings. Means first we'll start with the API testing. Next we will do with the UI testing, performance testing, security testing, all the things. And once they have been built this one, they will do the unit level testing, whether all the deployment has been done properly or not, which is the white box testing. And when it comes to the testing here, so these all things are black box testing, which we are committing over here. Now, coming back to here, in the continuous integration, the developer one means just he commits the code. So on commit basis, integration will run. So the first pointer, we need to know that continuous integration, in the continuous integration, on commits, the code will be, means automatic process will be triggered out. So now this guy has been committed a code. Now what it will do means, so now the step number D1 committed the code into the Git repository, and immediately it should do a build. So now what it will do means, after the committing, there will be a job triggered immediately. What that particular job will do means, it will go to the master, and means it will fetch, means actually we will be having different release branches will be there. So that release branches it will be bringing back. And for that particular release branch, whatever the latest developer has been committed code, it will keep it, and it will go to the, it will do a build, and then it will run the unit test cases. Now, there are two possibilities after running the unit test cases. Either it will pass or it will fail. So that's where you'll give two codes, which is the most important terminology in Jenkins, exit code. So if it is pass, then the exit code is 0. And if it is fail, the exit code will be 1. Now, based upon this, if the means all test cases are passed, then it will return 0. If it is all, means any failures are there, it will result in 1. We can keep other things also. If we have 95% failure, then result me 2. If it is 90% failure, give me 3. So these are the codes which we can customize it and we can give it back. So if there is a pass, then what it will do means, automatically from the build, it will go for the testing phase. So once it comes to the testing phase, what it will do? First of all, automatically it will once again go to the repository, means which is our Git repository. What will be having here? Automation code will be here. Automation Git repository, it will go here, and then it will fetch that particular automation code. And in the, as part of the hierarchy of the execution, first it will start with the API testing, because with the APIs, it will run in very faster, and if we can identify the issue as early as possible. And in the APIs, if it is passed all, then it will reflect, gives us the exit code. So if this gives the exit code 0 means the same way, then it can proceed further with the next build. If it is getting the fail, what it will do is immediately, even here, first, whenever it was getting failed, immediately it will alerts the respective developer saying that email will go to him saying that, boss, whatever the build which you have been given is unstable, it was breaking. So the developer will immediately look into that and he will try to see where it was going wrong. Means he can see the unit test failures and he can fix that particular unit test failures, and he can read, once again he will commit the code. So that once he commit that particular code, once again it will go to the same procedure, build, run the unit test case, and go for the API test case, and then go for the UI test cases. And if you have the performance, it will go for that. Or if it is having the security, it will go for that. And once after that one, automatically it will deploy the code, means actually we will be having different environments. Like, see, all these things we will be executing in the beta environment. These executions are completed, then it will go once again to the staging environment. And from here, it will go to the production. So before going to this one, either the manual means we can go for a manual approval or auto process approval. But the suggested recommendation is it should go with the manual approval only before committing into the production. And we will be having the rollback codes and all other things will be there. So those things I'll talk it later. Now, if you understand it correctly, now any developer, any point of time, he can commit the code, and once he commit the code, it will go and build that and follow this particular testing, and it will deploy this one and it will go to the production. So this is called continuous integration. And whenever it was deploying into the different environments, and from this one to moving to the production, different environments, automatical process, then this is called continuous deployments. So continuous integration and continuous deployments. So this complete thing can be achieved with the Jenkins. So this is a wonderful feature which made the complete process as automated. For this one, we have upstream jobs, downstream jobs, and by default, we will be running our static code analysis on the development code, static code analysis on the automation code. A static code analysis means there are some tools that are available. Like for example, for Python, we have Bandit, and then for Java, we will be having spot bugs. So what these things will be doing is, we have the Sonar Cube. What this will do is, it will check on complete code and it will point out whether we are following the standards, coding standards or not. And is there any security vulnerabilities are there or security hotspots are there. So those things easily can be identified with this particular scanners and scannings, and it will let us know. Even if the static code analysis percentage is very high, same way we can return the exit codes. With this exit code, it will stop. Why we need this exit codes? Because based upon this, whether it can move for the next step or not, it can be decided based upon the exit codes. That means before build means pre-build, post-build. Means we can perform some actions in the pre-builds, and post-build also, we can perform lot of actions. So what are the things we can perform while creating the jobs? We can understand that. So what is the gist we need to understand it is? So what is a Jenkins means? It's a continuous integration tool which helps to continuously develop. If you see here, continuous development and continuous testing and continuously deploying. It do all the characters. And if you see here, on commits, this will perform all these actions. Else, we can do another thing, nightly builds. We will call this as nightly builds or scheduled builds. Nightly builds is nothing but we will have a cutoff time. Means now these all people are there, right? So from different means teams or geographical location, I'll keep one pointer saying that boss, every day night 9:30, I need to run this one. So what it means is every day it will take all, means I'll create a job. This job, what it will do means every day at 9:30, it will build it and it will test it and it will deploy to the staging or beta environments. It depends upon company to company. It's a best practice that this complete cycle has to be done in beta. This complete cycle has to be done in the staging. Then this can be moved to the production. This is 2-time authentication of our testing. So this can be done it, but few organizations will not use a beta or staging, just they will be using pre-prod environment, which they call it as a staging or the UAT. Directly they will do all this testing in the pre-prod environment and move to the production. So it all depends upon the organization to organization. Now, so in the schedules, same means on commit means live. Whenever the developer commits that, it will go for all this procedure and do to the production. Or if it is like a nightly build, every day it executes and checks whether there is any breakage in the code. So this is the second mode. And third mode is a manual trigger. That means whenever I wanted to see whether my code is broken or not, if I wanted to do a manual trigger also, I can do that particular trigger from the dev branch once I made it, then I can execute. Means for an example, every time whenever I commit, I don't wanted it. So I make a lot of commits in a day, but in one point of time, I will have my release branch. I'll pass my release branch and I'll trigger from there, and I can see whether it will perform the respective build actions, testing actions perfectly or not. So the people will divide. They will not directly move to the deployments, means deploying to the different environments. They will stop it, and only the DevOps will have the permissions that they can do the deployment jobs. Even in Jenkins, it was very much have the scope to restrict the users which jobs they can use it, which jobs which it should be visible. All those things can be maintained. So this is the basic concept of the Jenkins. Okay, so now coming back here, so now what are the topics we discussed? So now we discussed about these 4 topics are completed. What is Jenkins? What is continuous integration? What is Jenkins pipeline? And local Jenkins, and then central Jenkins. Central means, as I said, that Jenkins works on a server. So there would be already there is a server which we are trying to invoke that and execute it. So before explaining this one, first I'll explain this so that if you understand this one clearly, then it is very easy to understand local and the central. Now, how to install Jenkins? It is very simple. Actually, if you make this as a working session, it will be much more easy. But due to the course of time, I didn't propose it. So moving forward, we will just, you try it and let me know. Just you need to mention Jenkins download. Just click this download Jenkins. And if you go here, you can have this one, you can download it. How can we execute download and execute this particular Jenkins means install Jenkins? We have 2 approaches. The first approach is with the .war file, and next one is .exe. Exe is nothing but just you can click and then it will install you. War file is nothing but I'll show how we need to use that. So just you need to come here. If you want the exes, just click this download button, it will download you. Else, if you wanted the war file, just you need to go for this generic Java packages, click on this one. It will start as to save this particular war file, and then it will download for you on this. It will start to download. So if you see here, it started downloading for this one, but I'll just stop because already I have this one. Now, once it was there, so how it looks like is, if you go here, downloads, in the downloads, it will download like this one. Okay. Now what I'll try to do, if I wanted to start this one, means as I told you, if you wanted to use Jenkins, it should be, means the server should be up and running. Now, first, initially, we need to make some setups for this. So you will have under the same link, okay, jenkins.io downloads, you'll have the same link, installation of Jenkins. If you click on that one, it will give you some prerequisites, like it should have minimum of 256 MB and 1 GB of driver space, and everything would be given it. And guys, this is most important because it might result very tragedy in our executions. If the Jenkins space was built, no screenshots will be captured, execution will be stopped in the middle. So always we should make sure that Jenkins server, where we are running that particular Jenkins server, it should have enough space for us. Or else we will be debugging the code, we will not understand where the problem is happening, but because of this is the culprit which made us to spend longer time on this one. Okay, now if you wanted to, once after installing, means clicking on this, so now you downloaded this one, right? Okay, .war file. Just what you need to do is, just you need to go here, cmd, it will open the command prompt with that respective path. Here we need to know one particular command, which is java-jar, okay, and here we need to give the name, which jar file which we are opening, okay, jenkins.war. And another important point is in which port I need to open this one. Here I am giving the port number. Guys, port number is nothing but on, means this will help to communicate. Means for an example, this is a port is nothing but it's like a bridge to act whenever you're connecting to our kernel, or whenever you are supporting to our, means connecting to the system, via which door I need to come. So we are saying that whenever you are connecting, you need to connect on this particular port number, door number 9191. So we will be having 65,000 plus ports are there. So we can assign particular port for each and everything. For TCP IP protocol, what is a port number? So we can dedicatedly assign that particular port numbers into that particular port number. Via that particular port number only, we are able to access that particular thing. Now, I made the Jenkins.war file and I given my port number. You can give any port number. The default port number, all the people will use 8080. Port number will be used. So once you have been clicked on this one, ultimately your server will start doing the up and running. Because that what is a war file which we have been taken, that particular war file will connect to the Jenkins server, and then it will try to make up and run for us. Now, if you see here, it talks about Jenkins is fully up and running. So then we will go to this pages and see, I'm connecting in local. So whenever I'm connecting in the local, then it is my local host with the port number 9191. If I'm connecting with 8080 port number, then here I need to give it as 8080. Or instead of the local host, I can give, what is my IP address? Local host IP address 0.0.0.0.127 is my local host IP address. So either I can give that and then give this number, so that via that particular port number, the Jenkins will be connecting to the Jenkins server, and then we are able to see this one. Now, in the initial, means if you are installing for the first time, means you need to set up Jenkins username and password, and then what are the plugins we need to wanted, those things we need to do it. As this is already installed in my machine, it may not ask for me, but usually whenever it will start, so it will first ask, means it will land up in this particular page. See, now whenever I given the local host 8080, it will open me this and it will ask me to unlock the Jenkins. So unlock the Jenkins means I need to enter the credentials. Where I will get this particular credentials is, this is the path we'll be having it. Usually how it would be means, it will go here for an example. Mine is C drive. I'll go to the program files, and in the program files, I should go for the Jenkins, and in the Jenkins, I'll be having some secrets. In the secrets, you'll be having initial admin password. So initial admin password will open, and here you'll be getting the password. So just you need to take this particular password. That's the initial, means whenever the first time you are using it. So you will be entering that particular password over here, and then you'll click the continue. And once after the continuing that one, it will ask you to select, means it will ask you to set up the administrative password, username and password. You need to give the username and you need to set up the password. Both the things you need to give it. And guys, keep it in mind, always everyone have the tendency to forget that particular password and username, and every time we need to reset that one. So please be cautious when you're setting the username and password. Once after this one, it will ask you for creating the plugins. Means it will have two options, whether install the suggested plugins and selected plugins to install. Usually by default, it is recommended to go install suggested plugins. By default, it will install. And what are the plugins which we wanted? So those things we can definitely install them. So how, means once you have been created your credentials and once you selected your respective plugins, then you will be entering to this. Why? What happened? Just give me a second, guys. I am written in 9191 port only. So once we have been